So it's one key word there that we'll probably talk about a lot, and it's capability. A lot of people train because they want to look a certain way. The average guy out there has a job, whatever he does, works 40, 50 hours a week, and he wants to look a certain way. What most people do is they start training specifically for looks. In my opinion, when they go down that path, they're going down a path that is not necessarily setting them up for capability or longevity. It's working on looks first. So sometimes they put themselves in this box where they're just annihilating these muscles and they're training like they're going to go on stage even though they never will. I like to approach it differently, like this, like capability. What do I mean by capability? Are you able to pick up your wife? Are you able to pick up your kids and physically move them 100, 200, 300 yards away from a danger? Or even if we're not talking so serious, just run and play with the kids and the dog and be on the softball team and not be all achy and have your back be going out.
Justin, I know you run the fitness division for a very large sales training organization. Can you talk to me about what role our health and fitness plays in business, financial, and entrepreneurial success?
Dude, absolutely. I mean, without health, we have nothing. I mean, do we have, we can end it right there. I mean, it's as simple as that. Without our health, and when I mean health, I don't just mean like, the way we look. If you want to be better at business or sales or as a father or whatever, like, our bodies are everything, because this is where our energy comes from. This is where our mental clarity comes from. Like, everything that we do, the way we perform, the way we show up for our people, it all comes from our body. So a lot of the times we lack belief in ourselves. We can fix that with the body. But I mean, so many people, I think, overlook how important it is to actually take care of our bodies because they think it's probably just a looks thing. Like, oh, I don't care if I'm 20 pounds over fat, whatever. I feel good and I'm all this and that. But like, it's like, dude, like we want to win for a long time. We don't just want to win for a day or for a month or for a season. We want to win for a long time. And health is literally the only thing we have that keeps us going. Like, money doesn't do it. Who cares if you have $10 billion in the bank account? If your body is falling apart and you're dying, like, that's it. The money can't help you. So it's imperative that we take care of ourselves. And that's why the very first thing we talk about is always, like, what shape are you in? How capable are you? Like, how achy are you? What's your energy like? What's your sleep like? How clear is your mind? How clear are your thoughts? How confident are you in your decisions? Because it all comes from health.
Yeah, dude, that might have been the quickest mic drop moment of the show of all time. We're episode 242. We could have ended it at 20 seconds in. We don't have anything without our health. But that gave us a lot, man, to really kind of, I think chew on here a little bit. You gave so much value there. And I think when we're talking about health, I mean, you even kind of pointed it out, right? I think a lot of people just look at physical, like, what is the appearance of somebody? I've had this conversation with many people on the podcast. Like, I spent a decade at a very high level in the fitness industry, walked on stage, have trained with IFBB champions at this point. I had the honor of training with Derek Linsford years ago. I think a lot of people think that the people that are on the magazines or the people that are on the stage are the model of health. And in reality, sometimes getting to those extreme levels of conditioning sacrifices some health. So when you're talking about without our health, we don't have anything, what are kind of the pillars of prioritization for you when it comes to our health for sustainability and success beyond just the physical realm?
So it's one key word there that we'll probably talk about a lot, and it's capability. A lot of people train because they want to look a certain way, right? And so let's just say the average guy out there has a job, whatever he does, works 40, 50 hours a week, and he wants to look a certain way. So what most people do is they start training specifically for looks, maybe with someone that has like a bodybuilding background. But in my opinion, when they go down that path, they're going down a path that is not necessarily setting them up for capability or longevity. It's working on looks first, because like as you get on stage, a lot of people don't understand this. When they train like the typical back day, leg day, arm day, chest day, and they go after the super dialed in macros and the really strict diet and stuff, and they're focusing on that. When you're training like that to go on stage, it's because you're looking to set certain, goals that the judges are going to see. They're looking for like your shoulder to hip to, calf ratio. And like the average guy doesn't have to worry about that shit, So sometimes they put themselves in this box where they're just annihilating these muscles and they're training like they're going to go on stage, even though they never will. So I like to approach it differently. I like to approach it like this, like capability. And what do I mean by capability, right? I don't really care how you look. Are you able to pick up your wife? Are you able to pick up your kids and physically move them 100, 200, 300 yards away from a danger, to create distance between you and a threat? Are you able to, or even if we're not talking so serious, just run and play with the kids and the dog and be on the softball team and not be all achy and have your back be going out and all this kind of shit? So we start with capability training, and a lot of that includes a lot of different kinds of carries, like suitcase carry, farmer carry, yoke carry, a lot of sandbag work, a lot of work that is training the body to work more as a machine instead of getting the shoulders super dialed in for stage and then the legs dialed in for stage and the arms dialed in for stage. We go about it a little bit differently and get the whole thing working so it just flows and functions more like a machine. And then lo and behold, the looks still come too. And maybe not like going on stage looks, but again, most guys are not training to go on stage. So we like to train for capability so we can have that longevity, we can be dangerous, and we can do what needs to be done, whatever that is.
Yeah. Is there a balance then, I guess, of, this capability, some would call it maybe primal type training, athletic conditioning type of stuff, the carrying, the push, the pulls, all that stuff. Is there a balance? I mean, because let's be real, like a lot of guys love to go in and feel the pump in the gym, right? There's nothing, Arnold said it, Arnold said it the best, right? The pump is like I'm coming, every time I'm in the gym. Maybe not the best analogy for the audience out here, guys. I apologize about that. But yeah, is there balance? And what would that kind of spread look like in terms of this functional type training and then bringing in some of the aesthetics?
Yeah, for sure. Unless you're on like a purely capability like training program, like we throw like first responders on or military on a lot of the times, we do a hybrid. So no matter what your goal is, if you're trying to like lose fat or put muscle on or whatever it is, we start with a capability base for the most part, but then you're still like getting a badass arm pump. You still get some arms in there. You still get to do the fun stuff and enjoy that pump, like you said, and still get to, focus on certain muscles. Like, cause it's not all capability. And then how you look is how you look, if somebody wants to work on shoulders, okay, cool. There's extra shoulder stuff you can put in. You can really start to forge those a little bit more, make sure they recover properly. But basically, whatever your goal is, you can achieve your goal and still reduce your aches and pains and just become an overall more dangerous, mobile, capable man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're talking about the training side of here. I would assume though, when we're talking about health, being the number one priority, kind of linking back to the first question there, what role does our health play in our business, financial, entrepreneurial success? I got to assume that the training part is just a small piece of it. So, are we talking now nutrition, supplementation, recovery? Like how deep do you guys kind of go in your coaching with these business guys and these entrepreneurs?
Well, I know you're going to love this, Frank. We primarily start to focus on habits and behavior change. That's where most of the problems come from. Basically, all of the eating problems, all the snacking, all the bad habits, all the vices, all this stuff come from bad habits. So if we can actually start to change the behavior and really sink in new habits that become part of how we operate, it's super easy to plug in the rest of what we do, like you accurately stated, nutrition plans, supplements, workouts, recovery, sleep, all that kind of stuff. We take it full, like we look at everything. But at the core of what we're really trying to do is change the person. Like you can't really just change the person by just focusing on the body. You can make physical changes. You can drop weight. You can look differently, but like that's not the goal. The real goal here is to evolve ourselves and to become better men. So we have to start with habits and our behavior, and then we just plug everything else in along the way. And that's how we really make a total recreation.
Yeah. What are some of I'm sure you've worked with and have ran across thousands of people at this point. What are some of the main bad habits that you see people having that are toughest to break that keeps them from reaching, health success?
That's a good question. One of them is sleep. In any industry, but especially personal development. And, you got all the Goggins out there and you got all the guys that are just screaming, I sleep 3 hours a night or 4 hours, get up at 5 a.m. no matter what, and all this and that. A lot of guys take that seriously, and then they wonder why they're burned out, or they wonder why they're not recovering. They wonder why their fog is so prevalent in their brain and everything. And it's usually too much caffeine and not enough sleep. So as we tweak those and reverse those, we're able to back the caffeine off, get in a good morning routine with sunlight to help wake the body up, physiologically with the brain and everything, and then get in better quality sleep. And I understand not everyone can get 8 or 9 hours a night, but some guys are operating on 4 or 5. You just bump up to 6, 6.5, maybe 7, and get your caffeine down under 400 milligrams. dude, you feel like a different machine. Like you start to operate a hell of a lot better. But I think those are two of the biggest ones as far as bad habits. But then the other one is a lot of guys just don't believe they can actually have the results they want. They just don't have that belief in themselves yet. So that's why like they're always trying different challenges or different programs, or they're hiring different trainers, they're going to different gyms, they're buying new supplements called the GNC effect. They'll spend a ton of shit at GNC, a ton of money at GNC and hope it's going to do something. They're looking for it, but at the core is like they don't really believe they can have the body that they want. So we really help instill that with, like checking off wins along the way with your habits, with your workouts. We do weekly coaching calls, really pushing people, letting them know like, hey, we're here. We see you. We see your data. It is working. Keep going. You know what I mean? Because it's crazy how many people, let's say 2 months in or 3 months in, 6 months in, doesn't even really matter. They're like, yo, Justin, Adam, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm really still progressing. Hold please, pull up the before and after and look at the data, look at the pictures. They're like, oh shit, never mind. So it's really those things. Sleep, caffeine, and belief, I think, are the biggest ones.
Yeah, man, I want to stay on this belief here for a minute if we can, man, because, in the work that I've been doing for the last 4 years with men that are struggling with pornography addiction, I find this to be the number one limiting factor for all these guys in truly breaking free, right? The vast majority of the men that are coming to us got introduced at a very young age. There's plenty of research that points to early age pornography introduction leads to addiction and compulsive behavior later on in life, because you use it through very important brain development stages of a young man's life. When they've come to us, they've had it in their life for a decade and they've made 100 failed attempts. And I've said it time and time again, the thing that is going to hold more men back from anything is not believing that they can have a life without it. They try to manage it. They try to go on these day track counters. Like I need to count every single day for the next 90 days. They're still holding on to that identity. I think belief, confidence, and identity are kind of all one and of the same thing. So when we talk about somebody that needs to build belief in themselves, what are kind of some of the core principles that you think somebody needs to have, or what progressive, active steps, intentional steps can we make to begin to build our self-belief up? Get back to the show in a second, guys, but real quick, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Magnesium Breakthrough by Biooptimizers. Do you know if you're getting enough magnesium? Because 4 out of 5 Americans aren't. And that's a big problem because magnesium is involved in more than 300 biochemical reactions in your body. Today, I want to talk to you about the most common signs to look for that could indicate you're magnesium deficient. Listen carefully to the end because there's going to be a special offer happening at the end of this that could be exactly what you need. Are you irritable or anxious? Do you struggle with insomnia? Do you experience muscle cramps or twitches? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you sometimes constipated? There are dozens of symptoms of magnesium deficiency, but these are just a few of the most common ones. Now, here's what most people don't know. Taking just any magnesium supplement won't solve your problem because most supplements use the cheapest kinds that your body can't use or absorb. That's why I exclusively recommend Magnesium Breakthrough by Biooptimizer. It's the only full spectrum magnesium supplement with 7 unique forms of magnesium that your body can actually use and absorb. All Biooptimizer supplements are the best in class, guys. I've been working with and using their products for over 7 years now. For some reason you feel differently, you can get a full refund, no questions asked. They're so confident in this that they're going to offer a 365-day money back guarantee. Just go to biooptimizers.com/FrankRich. And in addition, we're going to give you a discount if you use code RICH10 for 10% off. Once again, guys, visit biooptimizers.com/FrankRich or click the link down there in the show notes and use code RICH10 to receive 10% off your order today.
Well, one is having support, I think, from someone that you resonate with, right? Finding a coach, a mentor, an advisor, someone that you really resonate with, that you is like, all right, cool. Frank said this. I've heard this 100 times. I need to stop watching that, or I need to start doing this. It hasn't clicked, but for some reason, Frank just said it a way that, okay, something resonated. So I think it's important to find a coach, whatever your goal is. If we're talking fitness, if we're talking getting off of a vice like alcohol or porn or whatever it may be, it could be to find the right person or coach or support group or something that actually works for you, but you also have to acknowledge that like not everyone will work for you. Like not some people like to get screamed at to get their ass in shape and out of the bed and go to the gym. Some people they get screamed at, they get completely turned off and it doesn't work at all. So they need a different approach. It's like situational leadership. I was in aerospace for a very long time after the Navy, and I had big teams of people that worked for me in Air Force, Marines, some Navy, foreign militaries, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, like civil service, you name it. They were all like, it was a mixed team. Not everyone just could be told what to do the same way. There's different ways. So I think that'd be step one, is finding someone that you can start to like go after this goal with or take direction from. I think that's one. And then as you start, I think it is important to acknowledge little wins along the way. But maybe I would like to ask you this, but maybe not obsess on that. Like when we tell people that are trying to lose weight, we don't want them to weigh themselves every day, because you start to get into this manic thing where it's like, oh man, I went up half a pound, I went down 2, but now I'm up 1, and you start to just go crazy with it. So I think it's important to acknowledge wins along the way. Like if you have who knows, a day or a week or a month where someone's not watching porn when they have a problem with it for a long time, cool. Acknowledge, dude, I did it. I can do it. I know it's only a week. I know it's only 2 weeks or whatever it may be, but knowing that, like, cool, I made it past this little milestone. I've made it past these 10 pounds, or I've made it 1 week in the gym even, something like that. And then this is where I think it gets really important to just stay focused and make it part of your lifestyle. That's why we lead with habits and behavior change, because we want you to check off what you're doing every day, but I don't want you to obsess with it or obsess over it. So I think, again, just to recap, find someone that you resonate with, that you can learn from and take leadership from. 2, acknowledge little wins along the way, but then basically just stay with it, get after it without obsessing over it, so you don't kind of fall back into it, I think.
Yeah, that daily weight, calculation, that's a great analogy kind of, and it runs parallel with, something I mentioned, like a lot of guys that think that they need to quit porn. It's like, I got to go 90 days, and they build these spreadsheets and they start tracking. And it's like one failed day where he had kind of, a lack of judgment, and you slid back. It's like, that's deteriorated all their progress. If you focus on the habits, if you focus on the behaviors, it becomes a lifestyle. The byproduct of your lifestyle is now this new identity. And that's kind of what we talk about with our men, is you need to become this man that no longer does this thing. And it's rooted in an identity change. I think running inconsistent with what you do in the business and entrepreneurship space is getting control of your health, right? You go through a physical transformation, very quickly you begin to get immediate biofeedback that you're keeping your promises, that you're taking the proper steps, right? The mirror begins to change. The way that you feel begins to change. The way that your clothes begin to change. You're like, damn, I'm actually somebody that does the things that he says he wants to do. Then you take that level of confidence and now you apply it to removing a device, or, getting financial stability, or whatever other area of your life you're trying to improve upon. You start with the physical health. The rest will kind of take care of itself.
Totally. You said something there that kind of just triggered this thought. I interviewed, he's become a buddy of mine now. Name is Justin Prince. A couple of weeks ago, he's going to be on our podcast. Unbelievable story. Great, great, great guy. He has a book called Be the One. And we were talking about becoming the next version, or becoming the person we want to be. Because I say that a lot. Sean Whalen says that a lot. I've been rolling with Sean. I've been in Lions Den for probably 4 years now or so. Like, who do you need to become? And I love that. And I share that with our group a lot. Justin Prince had a different spin on it. And what you said a minute ago just kind of triggered it. And it's not necessarily focusing on becoming the one, but be the one. Just be that person. As you start to get a little belief, you start to get some wins, just be that person. Except this is who I am now. I don't watch porn anymore. That's it. I don't drink anymore, or whatever it is. Like, this is who I am. I have become this person. I am this person. Even if there's still a big journey ahead of you and there's still a long path to go, like, whatever, that's me. This is who I am now. I am the one that did this.
Well, it's a spin on fake it until you make it. I think a lot of people hear fake it until you make it. I got to fake being a different person. No, just fake being the future version of yourselves. Figure out what the person that you want to be in 3 years from now does on a daily basis, and just do those things. And if it feels uncomfortable, it's because you aren't yet that person, but you show up every day and take action, focus on the process goals, as James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits, process goals versus outcome-based goals. The rest will take care of itself. The outcomes will be the byproduct of you taking action on the process.
That's right. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I know some people, when they hear "take it till you make it," they typically go to like watches and cars and renting cars.
Exactly.
Like
no, just fake the habits, being the person every single day, and you'll have the watches, you'll have the cars, you'll have all the success. You talked a little bit about your background here. I want to maybe kind of I want to kind of maybe reverse time here a little bit. We've talked a lot about just kind of the current coaching and stuff like that, but you mentioned Navy, aerospace, all this was a precursor to the entrepreneur stuff and the coaching that you're doing. Now, walk us through what that journey was like. Like, who was Justin in high school, pre-military, short stint there in the Navy, your aerospace career, and then what was the catalyst that got you into the entrepreneurship space that you're in now?
For sure. So I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. Moved out here in preschool from Pennsylvania. Love it out here. I'm back in Phoenix now. But essentially, I was a band nerd growing up. I played trumpet. Both of my parents were musicians. They were both music teachers, but I played literally everything under the sun, from organ to flute and trombone and the whole nine yards. So I grew up in a household that's full of music, pianos and instruments and all that kind of stuff. So got into that very young. Played some baseball, basically as well, all the way through high school, from t-ball all the way on up. So I was basically baseball and band my whole like kind of childhood and through school years.
So
Um,
that's a unique blend, man. Like running with a couple different cliques there in school.
yeah, yeah, exactly, and yeah, because they're like, wait, you do both? It's like, I guess, yeah, I don't know, like not trying to fit into any one box. This is just who I am. This is what I do. But through high school, I'm not a fan of school. Like I was not a fan of school. I learned so much better than being in a classroom. So I didn't like do bad in school per se. I got okay grades, but when high school was wrapping up, the last thing I wanted to do was more freaking school. So I basically had two choices. I was either going to get a scholarship to play trumpet, like jazz trumpet, which I was able to do that if I wanted to do that. Or option B is what I did. I basically decided not to do that, and I joined the Navy. So I was here in Scottsdale all the way through high school, joined the Navy. The reason I joined is because 9/11 happened when I was a junior. So I remember going in that day, and I watched it unravel before I went to school. I was making breakfast, and I got into school, and we didn't do anything that day. We're just sitting there watching the TV, and this is, think about it. I'm a junior. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to college, a trade school? Like, what's going on here? And I saw that shit happen on TV, and I'm just sitting there watching, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. I feel like something can be done about this. I feel like I could contribute somehow. And so I was working at Sam's Club at the time. It was like pushing carts and working in the butcher shop and whatnot. And my buddy Donnie comes in one day and he goes, "Hey, I'm joining the Navy." And I was like, "Oh, no shit." I was like, "Well, all right." So long story short, I went down to the recruiter, talked with all of them, and I ended up joining with him. We went in on a buddy program. So I went in August of '02, so just about a year after 9/11 happened, and I was in for 4 years. Basically worked on fighter jets the entire time, sailed around the planet and all that. So I can dive into whatever portion you want of that. But I just did 4 years. While you're in, especially when you're on a ship, like you kind of hate it. You feel like you're in prison. You want to get out. But afterwards, you realize that was probably the coolest thing I'm ever going to do. Swimming in the middle of the Persian Gulf with an anchor dropped and sailing around the whole freaking planet, going to Dubai, like all this cool shit in Greece and everything. So that's what set me up to get into aerospace, which I did. I was in classified aerospace programs for about 10 years up in the high desert of California after the Navy.
Yeah. Wow, man. What are you about 40 right now? 40, 41?
Yeah, I just turned 40.
Okay. Yeah, no, we're the same age, man. I remember got second period English. That's one of those things, man. 9/11. It's like you'll always remember exactly where you were. I literally walked into second period English class as a second tower was getting hit. I was on the East Coast, so had kind of already started our day when everything kind of started to fall apart, man. Well, dude, man, I appreciate you, stepping up, and thank you for the service that you served there for those 4 years. It was definitely something that was needed at that time, man. It really, I spent many hours going through documentary and stuff like that. I don't want to get sidebarred here. So aerospace to entrepreneurship, kind of walk us through that. Like, how did you go aerospace to now health, fitness coach, earn it all, Elliott Army Academy, and everything you're doing?
All right, good
That's
question.
that's not a direct, line of trajectory.
Not at all. It's a treasure map for sure. So yeah. So as I'm getting out of the Navy, I'm thinking, okay, maybe now I'll go to college, because I didn't do it when I was in. I was like, I wanted nothing to do with it. I just wanted to be a sailor. So as I'm getting out, I'm looking to come back to Arizona, go to ASU. But I put a resume up on, remember monster.com? Yeah, so I put a resume up on Monster, and Lockheed Martin started calling. So, long story short, I took a position as an avionics technician on the F-22 Raptor fighter jet, Air Force single-seater stealth fighter jet. So I went out to Edwards Air Force Base, California, which is where they do a lot of, it's called flight test. And essentially what that is, when you have a brand new fighter jet from the factory, it's already flown up at all the secure Area 51 places and all that. And now it's like, okay, cool, we need to really test this thing. Because what we need to essentially do at that point is find out the real limits of the jet, how fast it can go under various different maneuvers, what angle of attack we can drop weapons, how does the stealth hold up when we go so fast. We test tires, canopies, ejection seats, like the whole nine yards. The airplane needs to be tested to find what the true limit is of safety before it goes to the Air Force or Marines or Navy. Because, well, that was the F-22. That's where I started. So I get there and I start working on that. I met my wife there. She was my trainer at the time. She was not my physical trainer, my airplane trainer. She was basically like in charge of a lot of stuff. Not in charge, but she was senior to me. She had been there a couple of years. So working in aerospace, I then moved over to the F-35 program. So I did 5 years on the F-22, 5 years on the F-35. The F-22 was really cool because as an avionics guy, I got to run the engines, which means when it was time to ops check the engines, there's two 40,000-pound thrust engines attached to it. I got to get up in there, put the helmet on, close the canopy, start it up, crank that sucker up, do the ops checks. And the first couple of times, it's kind of terrifying, because it's like it's a huge checklist. You had to basically go through like the flight checklist. We had to go train on the simulator, and what happens if the brake fails and it jumps chocks and starts to move and all this shit, and what happens if it blows up and catches on fire, all that stuff. So I love that. I went over to the F-35 program, and that's where I really took off over there, really excelled over there. Became an aircraft manager, so I had my own team. From there, I moved up to be a lead flight test control engineer. Did that for about 3 years. Which really means I had my name painted on the side of an F-35 fighter jet as a Marine version. And I was essentially in charge of that plane, making sure it was ready for whatever mission came up. If it was a weapons mission, if it was a stealth mission, if it was avionics, if it was communications and radar, whatever it was, I had a day shift crew, a night shift crew, a mid shift crew of guys that basically took my direction to get that thing ready, cleaned up, maintained, configured properly, modified, whatever, to be ready. So promise I'm getting there. So as that's going on, I'm doing well and I'm advancing. I'm winning a bunch of awards and everything's going well. I'm like, cool, I'm going to do this for a while. I got my bachelor's degree in technical management while I was there. And now towards the end of this, I'm just 3 classes shy of getting a master's degree in aeronautical science. Like I'm almost there. I'm like all in on this career, right? So I apply for another position above. It was a senior management position. And the director calls me into his office one day and he goes, "Hey, Justin, you won the position for this job." And I was like, "Cool, man, let's keep this rolling, And he goes, "You're the best. You can do this. We want you for the job. I personally selected you. Like, cool, let's roll." So I'm like, "All right, cool, here we go." And he goes, "However," I go, "What do you mean freaking however?" He goes, "However, HR says you need another 10 years before we're going to let you have this position. So even though I chose you, you have the degree, you have the experience, you have the awards, you've already done what the position needs. Red tape is not going to let me hire you." I was like, copy that. So at that exact moment, light bulb went off. And that's when I got the bug, like, I am not going to be here forever because I am not going to sit here for 10 years and wait for that freaking job. Are you kidding me? Like, he just told me I should have it now. I'm going to wait 10 years? There's no way. So basically right there, I decided I'm going to go do something else because growing up here in Arizona, my mom and dad always had me into personal development stuff. Like I read all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, the Og Mandino books. My dad was in a thing called Amway, if you remember that. So we were always listening to the motivational, tapes and CDs and everything. And that's where I was just like, you know what? I've always wanted to do my own thing. I was kind of looking for a little while. But right there when that light bulb went off, I was like, I refuse to sit here and wait for red tape to allow me to move on and advance. So I think it was within 6 months, I quit. I left that industry completely. I stopped going to college. I ditched my master's degree 3 classes shy of of achieving my master's degree. My wife and I had just built a new house and decked it out with everything that we wanted in it. We sold the house, and I even left a stepdaughter in California with her dad, and we moved the family and everything to Arizona. I think it was within about 6 months. I literally just, you talk about burning the boats or cutting the cord. I just completely chopped and pushed all of that shit out because I knew I wasn't going to do it anymore. I just went all in on my own entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, man. God, that's such a there's a lot there, man, and I'm glad you went into the level of detail that you shared there, because there's going to be so many guys that are hearing this that maybe had that dream of kind of stepping out, going on their own, and I think somebody would maybe hear a story like yours, because I know you had immediate success or pretty quick success with your first venture, earn your booze, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I think people would hear that and be like, oh, here's this guy that got lucky, like he had this immediate overnight success. And I think what a lot of early entrepreneurs or people that try to make it on their own lack is that real world leadership experience. You had a decade of working in a very large multi-billion-dollar organization that you worked your way up. You even shared going back prior to that, like you've been studying the personal development and growth. So you had a lifetime of inner development work paired with real world corporate experience, working for people, seeing how systems and operations run, leading large teams, leading smaller teams. Then when you step out on your own, a lot of people go from working at a grocery store to I want to become an entrepreneur. And it's like, why aren't I having immediate success? Well, you don't have the skills. So you spend a career developing the skills to then be successful in probably anything you would do after the fact. So maybe talk about the role that your military experience and even kind of some of the corporate experience that you had played in how you set up your companies and how you even run your businesses today.
Yeah, it directly plays over. I mean, you're exactly right. Think about what I did in aerospace. We would have a mission that we knew was on a certain date, and it could be tomorrow or it could be a month out. Well, we had to then back up and figure out, okay, what needs to be done to this plane to be ready for that mission. And sometimes it wasn't much. Sometimes it was just make sure it's gassed up and the radar works and it'll be ready. Other times it was literally remove the engine, change the engine, fix something underneath the engine, upgrade this thing, which comes with its own problems. And it's basically we had these massive complex problems to solve. And I got extremely good at doing that and not having any emotion tied to it. And I think that's why I did well there, because we'd have so much going on, so much money, so many people, all these deadlines, the directors and bosses let their hair on fire because they're worried because the vice president of the United States is going to be watching this mission and shit is going wrong and it's not working, all this kind of stuff. And I was just able to, after a little bit, just like sail through it. Like it is whatever. Shit is going wrong and it is my job to fix it. It's so simple as that. Either I'm going to do it myself or I'm going to find the right person for the job, or I'm going to find another way around it. I'm going to get creative if needed and, get some special permission to do some stuff, but solve the problem. That carries over directly into business because as a business owner, all we really do is solve problems. Like once the business is up and running, especially, that's it. Like we're constantly putting out fires, constantly solving problems with money, with marketing, with people, with branding, with legal, with like you name it. It's like it all comes down to basically how equipped are you to solve problems? And I got very well equipped with what I did in aerospace to solve problems in business. So there's a couple other things though, that really tied over from aerospace. And I just pulled up my notes. I spoke at Lions Not Sheep or Lions Den Live. I think it was 2 years ago, I believe. It was awesome. Sean got me up on stage and talked in front of about 1,000 people. And I talked about 5 things that you need to do if you're considering leaving a career, a job, security, comfort. 5 things you need to do if you're going to leave that comfort to go into the unknown. Because again, entrepreneurship is just solving freaking problems because shit is always going wrong. So I basically gave this speech on those 5 things, and that came directly from what I did before in aerospace and in the Navy. And I can share that if you want.
Yeah, let's unpack those 5 here.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one is make a well thought out plan. So whatever industry you're getting into, research the crap out of that industry. Like the first thing I was going to do when I moved back to Arizona from aerospace was we were opening a brewery. So I dove in and learned absolutely freaking everything about beer, about craft beer, about breweries, about everything. I started to consume the Business of Beer podcast. I listened to every single freaking interview on there. I started brewing at my house. I got a job a couple nights a week at a local brewery, brewing and delivering kegs and serving beer. I became completely immersed in it in order to make a real plan for the beer world, because that was going to be my first business. So whatever industry you want to get into, I always tell people to get crazy and study the crap out of the industry so you know what you're getting into. Look at where the industry is now, where it has come from, where people think it's going, who are the players in the space, like what are you going to do to stand out in that space, in that plan. But make a plan. A lot of people just jump in and they think, oh, I'm going to start a brand. I have a cool idea for a shirt and that's going to be my thing. And it's like, no, that's not a business. That's never going to work. It might be a cool shirt, but one in a billion you're ever going to do anything with it. So make a plan. That's step one. Step two, now that you've made that plan, be prepared to throw that plan in the trash. Like for real. That's what we do. I can't tell you how many projects we've had that we've spent so much time and energy and capital and manpower on, for it to just not work out or have it need to be tweaked and changed. And it worked out completely differently. So don't hold on so closely that you don't allow yourself to pivot. So that would be number two, because we always have to be able to pivot and adapt.
I want to keep going with the next three here, but I want to kind of pause you here, or at least maybe go a little bit deeper on this. First off, to make a plan, well thought out plan, like, Stephen Pressfield wrote an incredible book called Turning Pro, right? Like become a pro and expert in whatever it is you're trying to do, because entrepreneurship is a competitive marketplace. Like you're competing against real businesses out there and whatever it is you're trying to do. You gave a great example with the t-shirt there, but be prepared to throw it away. I like that it's be prepared to throw it away, not throw it away. Like you need to be willing to give it up, but how are you gauging like, okay, I haven't given enough time or now it's ready? Like, is there a barometer to know when I am ready to fully throw it away? Because the step says be prepared. So how do you know when you're ready to kind of, throw it away?
So I guess what I really mean is be prepared to throw that plan away, but keep your North Star, most likely.
Keep the vision of the goal. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so like if your goal is to create whatever kind of business, your initial plan might sound great on paper. It might not actually apply during the implementation stage.
So you're not throwing the dream away. You're not throwing the goal. You're throwing the plan that execute the goal. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so so like even if you spend 6 months building a freaking business plan, when you go to actually put it in place, if it's actually not working, you're reviewing the data, you're watching what's happening, like shit, maybe the industry has changed, or maybe something changed outside of your control, or maybe it just didn't pan out the way you want. Be willing to adapt and keep going after that goal. Okay, so number 3 is take care of yourself and your family along the way. It's a very, very difficult thing. If you're leaving like a regular job and getting into your own entrepreneurship game, I know firsthand how easy it is to skip dinners, skip, tucking kids into bed, skip date night with the wife, like to just justify all your time going to the business because it's so important. And I get it. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot going on. Your family wants the business to work, but make sure you don't lose them along the way. And I think the easiest way to help ensure that doesn't happen is to communicate with them. So I wasn't very good at this for a while, for the first couple of years, but now like I debrief with my wife every day, as long as she doesn't fall asleep before I get home. I try to keep her up to speed on what's going on, so there isn't any ambiguity. There isn't any, is it okay? What's happening? Why is he gone again for the weekend? It's like, no, look, like this upcoming weekend, for prime example, Saturday I have an all-day event at my office. It's called Dangerous in a Day with Michael Johnson. He's teaching hand-to-hand combat and basically a lot of just hand-to-hand capability stuff. I'll be gone all day for that. The next day, Sunday, I'm going down to the border to go do a little VIP tour down at the border, and that is very intentional for some other stuff I have going on. So if I'm just gone all weekend, she's probably going to be like, dude, what? You going to be home, dad? What's happening? But if you communicate and let her know why, that it's part of a bigger plan, and make sure it still kind of fits in and everything's cool, I think that's one way that you're going to be able to keep the family there during the whole thing so you don't lose them. Because it's not good enough. It's not good enough to just like say someday I'm going to make a ton of money. I'm going to buy all the cars you guys want and the best Christmases. And someday you'll have daddy back. Like, no, dude, they ain't gonna fucking be there if you work like that.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many business events I've been at where, there's been a keynote speaker, one main person that was like so looking forward to, like, they're going to teach the tactics, and their entire presentation or talk is around the dating of the wife, or they're prioritizing the family life. I think Craig Ballantyne, he's got his perfect day workshop. People pay him $5,000 for a day to help them kind of set up and build a perfect life. And it's like, he wrote it in his book. The first thing you prioritize when you're mapping out your 6-month calendar is like date night with the wife every single week. I had two friends lost their families in the last 18 months. One of them had a multi 9-figure exit, but in the journey to building that, he pushed all this other stuff aside. He cashed out, he hit all the dreams and goals that he set for, but at the end of it, it ended up costing him his wife and his kids. Another very close friend built an 8-figure company while losing his wife and kids along the way as well. So yeah, it's so priorities, such a priority to take care of the family first, because you can have all the money, all the fitness, the greatest body in the world, but if you go to bed alone at night, like you're missing out on probably the most important part. So great stuff, man. Number 4.
Okay, number 4 is believe in yourself that you can do it. Like, you have to have that belief, because if you're jumping into business, like, dude, no one's going to believe for you. Most likely, your closest friends and family are not going to believe it. They're probably going to talk shit. They're going to try to talk you out of it. So you have to be the one with the belief, no matter what's going on. So just literally have that talk with yourself and just believe that you can do it, and keep that belief as you go through, because chances are, if it doesn't work out and if you quit, it's because you lost belief in yourself along the way. So it's of the utmost important, no matter how difficult it is. Accept that there's going to be shit that goes wrong. Like, accept it. Accept there's going to be good days and terrible days, good years, bad years. There's going to be all sorts of issues that are going to try to knock you off and try to get you to lose that belief in yourself. But if you can just know, I believe I can do this, I will keep navigating, I'll keep pivoting, I'm going to stay the course and see this thing through, I'm truly going to earn what I'm after, then that's step number 4, and just to keep that in the front of your mind a lot of the times.
Yeah, I love that, man. And then number 5.
Number 5 is actually pretty easy, but I think it's easy to say, but it's really hard for a lot of people to do, is just get started. Like, literally, get started. How many people do you know that are constantly consuming podcasts, always reading the books, showing up at all the seminars, they're in all the membership groups, all the coaching groups, they're just share all this motivational stuff, or they're researching forever, tweaking the plan. Dude, like I did say, make a plan. That was step number 1, but that doesn't mean like perfect the plan until you think it's a no-brainer to win for 10 years and never start. So you just have to start. And it could be just as simple as filing the LLC, starting the social media account, declaring publicly on social media that you're doing something. Like, whatever it is, you just have to start, or you have no chance of seeing what you're capable of if you never start.
Yeah, man. And the challenging part with this one is, like, you get a hit of dopamine by talking about your goals. You get a hit of dopamine by consuming information, and it's very easy. I fell into the trap for a long time, in 2013 to 2016. It was like, I was just reading 100 books a year. I was attending all the events, but it's like my life was kind of stagnant still. I wasn't really making any progress. And I felt like I was making momentum because I was doing. So, and I'm glad you shared that, because even when you're talking about like building the business plan, like if you spend 6 months building a business plan, I think that's the big red flag anyways. Like, it's right. Shouldn't take you 6 months to take the first step. So the person that's caught themselves maybe in that, I call it the mental masturbation cycle, right? It's like the consume. What is 1-2 pieces of advice for this individual to begin to take action, but like, let's go like the next like layer deeper on like how to get out of the cycle and then actually begin to take action.
Yeah, take some action that's actually meaningful. Like, do something that is actually going to make you commit to it. So like, and it could mean money. Invest some money into it. That motivates a lot of people sometimes. Like, like when, like swag shit we all get, when you get something for free, you just don't value it. So when it comes to your business, it might be as simple as, okay, yeah, I am going to put $5,000 into making these shirts, or $5,000, or it doesn't have to be $500, whatever. But like, getting actually invested in it, other than just with your words, like actually putting rubber to the road and forcing something to actually happen. A lot of the times that is going to be like, oh shit, I just ordered $5,000 worth of shirts. They showed up in my house. Okay, now I got to sell them. I got to do something, So take meaningful action for sure. Because, dude, a lot of the times you don't need any more information on what to do. You literally just need to do something, so just make sure it's meaningful.
Yeah, yeah. I think they say 20% of transformation is information, and then the real 80% of it is the implementation. So
Oh
light
yeah,
some fire under
because
your ass.
yeah, I do for sure. Because most of the stuff that you're going to learn, most of the stuff that you need, you're going to learn along the way. You cannot learn it during the planning process. It's impossible. You literally have to start the plan to see what works, what doesn't work in order to tweak. And that's really where you start to learn and develop your business plan, develop your model, find the right people, let people go. Like you have to get started to even figure it out. This isn't like a Nancy Pelosi, I need to pass it to see what's in the bill type thing. But like you do need to get started just to even know what you're going to be doing along the way.
Do you believe success in entrepreneurship is a DNA trait? I think what you did with burning everything, walking away from a very successful career is something that I'm not sure every single person would be able to succeed in doing. I love the message of burn the boats, of put everything on the line. But do you think that there's something maybe uniquely gifted that you had, or certain people have a specific characteristic trait that enable them to have that level of like, I'm going to burn it all? Or do you think that is something literally that any person can tap into within themselves?
It's definitely a risk, getting leaving comfort, leaving security to do something in the unknown is definitely a risk. So maybe that means that I'm willing to take more risk than some people. So if someone's like, you know what, that's all I needed to hear, I'm willing to take the risk, I'm going to make the jump, I would just say, make sure you do those 5 things that I said first. Actually study what you're doing because it would be very easy for a lot of people, a lot of guys to be like, yeah, cool, I can take some risk, fuck it, I quit. But like you got to know what you're going to do the next day. You got to have an actual plan to go after. So I mean, I would say like do your due diligence for whatever you want to get into. Make sure you know what you're getting into, and keep this in mind. No matter what you do in business, it's always going to cost more money and take more time and be more difficult than you think it's going to. Always. So if you think it's going to cost $500,000, budget for 1 million or 1.5 or 3 million. Like just way more. It's always going to cost a hell of a lot more. So if you could see what that looks like, that could potentially help somebody from coming in underfunded or coming in undertrained, underskilled, underprepared, and then falling flat on your face right away.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. You mentioned you met your wife. She was a superior to you in the aerospace industry. I'd assume that she has to have massive confidence, and obviously her support that she had for you played a huge role in what you've been able to do. Can you talk about the relationship that you guys have today, and how her support and everything for you has played a role in what you've been able to build and succeed in?
Yeah, dude, I'm really fortunate that I found like the true one person for me. Like my Gina is my Gina. Like we are just cut so right from the same cloth, like same cloth, right next to each other. Like we just fit so perfectly. We've been married for 10 years, and we have no shit probably like fought, been angry at each other like maybe like 2 or 3 times. Like no joke. And it's not because we don't have controversy. Like we just are able to get animated, get angry, get crazy with each other, and just be over it with it right away because we know the end mission is to grow our family. So there's that. I have the right person, so that is definitely important. But you're exactly right, man. What we have done would not have been possible without her, like at all. And this goes back to what I was saying about having a plan and making sure you're funded. Like there have been many times where I have gone through all of my money, all of my savings, all the business savings, all the credit cards, and literally just been stuck. And she was able to help us keep going. Or so that's one thing. But then the support along the way, I cannot stress how difficult business can be. And dude, one way you're going to potentially be successful is to have someone that supports you, like she does me. And sometimes and I don't just mean like she's not actually like the kind of person that's like super affectionate, like come here, let me hold you or anything. Like she's not like that. Sometimes she's literally just like, okay, keep going, do it, like whatever it is, like, well, you know what to do. So you got to find the right person for you, that back to like situational leadership, the right partner that can support you the way you need to be supported, because it's going to be extremely difficult. But I mean, without her, I don't know. We'd be in a completely different situation, because she has done so much to support on the back end as we've been going through business, the ups and downs of the roller coaster of business. I mean, we essentially lost Earn Your Booze to COVID. Like it took off and did great in the beginning. We're in Men's Health magazine and Liquor.com and Chilled magazine, and had international sponsored tours and all sorts of stuff. Like, just it just happened. We didn't pay for any of that. We didn't pay a PR agent or nothing. It just fucking took off. But then we lost it for COVID because we were so heavy in the event space. So we basically had to figure out how to do apparel for a couple of years, which I never really wanted to do. And there have been so many times along the way where if I didn't have the support from her for one reason or another, it wouldn't have worked out. So it's imperative to communicate with your person and make sure that, again, what was that? Step number 3, they understand what's going on. So one, you don't lose them, and two, they can truly support you along the way. It's imperative.
Yeah, no, yeah, man, that's beautiful, man. I appreciate, and it's rare, man, out there, I think, for you to find that one person. So, congrats to you, man. Talk to us about the Earn It All Academy, man. What are you guys doing over there? How did you transition from the Earn Your Booze to the events, that you mentioned, into the apparel, into now more the online coaching space, and then the partnership you have with the Elliott Army there as well?
Yeah, so it started as Earn Your Booze. It's kind of a lifestyle brand. Work hard, play hard. If you're going to drink, we always say, get your ass in the best shape possible. Be a good person. Handle your commitments, and treat your drinks like a reward and not a vice. Not something you lean on to go down a rabbit hole. Something that you can truly just celebrate with. That was kind of the whole message behind it, because most people don't do that. Most people drink irresponsibly, for a lack of a better term, right? So this was our way to be like, hey, if you're going to do that, let's set yourself up for success, because we know that's not necessarily healthy for you. Well, along the way, we met countless people, social media and in person events all over the place, that were like, yo, I love this. This is my brand. I get this. This is my lifestyle. But how do I earn it? What does that mean? What do I need to do? So Earn It All was formed as our answer on how to earn everything. And it starts with your health. So whether you drink or not, it doesn't matter. Like, we actually encourage people not to drink because it's not good for us. But Earn It All Academy was born essentially to teach people how they can earn a better life, starting with health, mindset, habits, and behavior change. So that was launched at the end of 2022. So Adam, our head coach, moved out here from Vegas. He's a former national level competing professional strongman. He's a small 275 right now. He was like 310 or 312 with abs, and he was competing. Just a total, absolute fucking monster. So back to, remember we talked about capability training. That's where a lot of our foundation of our training comes from, is from someone who understands at the professional level what it means to be truly capable. With logs and stones, or just overall, he's 275, can still do a backflip and a front handspring. Like, it's insane. It's crazy. I don't do that shit. It's nuts. So Earn It All was created then, and then that was around this. I met Andy Elliott a little bit after we started Earn It All. So Adam moved out here. We started Earn It All Academy. We had our first couple dozen people in, our first couple dozen clients were moving, and I meet Andy through Bradley. It was originally to do life insurance. So we kind of hit it off like that. And then, long story short, he was talking fitness, but didn't have anywhere to point anybody. It was just, get your ass in shape and see you later. And I was like, dude, we have a solution for this. You should be able to send people to a place where they can get real results. This is what Adam and I do. We have Earn It All Academy. It's already working. It's already a thing. All we need to basically do is just plug in some new technology, and we're off to the races, So that's what we did. We built that up, and Adam and I ran the fitness division at Elliott, called Earn It All, obviously, is our brand. We ran it for the entire 2023. And basically, that took us all over the place. We were on stage. We traveled to big conventions. We went to a bunch of VIP parties, and we basically were picking up and training people of all walks of life. From the blue collar guy working in the oil field, to the car salesman, to the high level CEO, the business owners. We have a couple different levels where we can work with people. And we launched it in late 2022 and crushed it through 2023. And then we actually departed Elliott in December of 2023, so about 3 months ago. So we are back on our own now. Aaron Williamson is still there. Aaron came and joined us while we were there as another trainer, and one of our guys. He stayed, but Adam and I left so we can do this other stuff we were doing now with military, first responders, corporate wellness, and some other stuff. So, dude, business is always a game of evolution, like always. So we did great while we were with Elliot, but our time is decided we took it somewhere else. And what we're able to do now is exactly what we want to be doing. We're in the exact perfect space. The brand is growing the way we want it to grow, and it's great.
Incredible, man. Yeah, I think you modeled step two, man, a couple times in that short little journey, right? You start this lifestyle brand, COVID hits, you got to throw it away. You transition into apparel, not really what you want to be doing, but you find this opportunity here in the online coaching space. You burn that one, throw it away. You take the online coaching space, you kind of partner with a very fast growing organization. You have massive success there. Not exactly what we're looking for. Throw it away, kind of move on to the next thing. So you mentioned military, first responders. Like what's the rest of 2024 kind of look for you guys with Earn It All?
Yeah, a couple different things. So, I was Navy, Adam was a Marine, my wife was Air Force. So we've throughout Earn Your Booze, all the events we did, most of them supported some sort of military or first responder charity. Like it's just something that we've always done. We've always wanted to support those guys and women. So now, a couple different things we're doing. We have a massive corporate wellness initiative where we are working with companies and teams of all different sizes. So that's on one hand, we're doing that. But we are also in the process of purchasing a ranch here in Arizona, which is going to be the nation's premier tactical training facility and private event venue. So I bring up the military and first responders because that it's basically for those guys. Like it's not going to be a range where like any old guy can just call and get range time or anything like that. It's private only, scheduled only. But we already have contracts from like DEA, the Air Force parajumpers, SWAT teams, like you name it, all sorts of guys. So we're building shoot houses, live shooting ranges. We have a helicopter landing zone, a skydiving drop zone. We have land navigation, search and rescue. We have lodging because there's 5 houses on the property. Like it's an incredible, beautiful property here in just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. So a lot of what we are doing is pouring into that to make sure that our first responders and our military are at the top of their game, capability wise, mindset wise, so they can actually go out there and take the fight or the support where it needs to go.
Yeah, dude, that sounds sick, man. I know you were mentioning potentially building a podcast studio out there as well, man. I'd super looking forward to hopefully making that trip, man, and seeing that. Just sounds amazing. You talked about it at the beginning, man. The biggest thing that you focus on with people when they come into your work is habits and behavior change. So, when we're talking about Justin, how he sets up his day, what are some of the top habits that you've instilled and take action on every day that, contribute to your success?
Dude, that's a great question. There's some really simple ones that to the listener might be like, dude, if you don't do these things, freaking do them and see if it changes. So number one is make your damn bed in the morning.
Yep.
Like
Amen.
there's a great speech. I forget the admiral's name, Bird maybe.
Yep.
Gives a great
UT
speech.
Austin.
About making your bed. So I do that every single morning. In the rare instance that I don't do it, it sticks in the back of my head all day. Like I know I didn't do it, but right off the bat, I'd like to get that little win, start to get organized. Because in your head, boom, you already have a win. You're already on track for being organized. You're already saying you're already doing what you say you're going to do. So that's that. Then also, as soon as I get into the bathroom, or even right as I get out of bed, drink a glass of water, full glass of water. Ideally 16 to 24 ounces of water. I keep it right there. So before I take a piss, brush my teeth, anything, whole glass of water, start to wake the body up. That's one. That's number two. A third thing is gratitude. I go to bed for sure every night. I do gratitude to myself as I'm going to bed. I thank God for the opportunity of another day, my family, our health, opportunities, the lessons that I learned. A handful of things that I genuinely am grateful for. I try to start every day with that as well. Sometimes just being a business owner, just jump into things, but I get it at night for sure, every single night. Let's see, a couple other little things are I have a morning sunlight routine that I try to do every as possible. Sometimes if it's too dark, I can't really get into it. But if you don't know this one, you can do this. When you wake, and this is back to the caffeine and sleep that you asked about earlier, right? The main habits. This is how I counter this a little bit. Within the first 90 minutes, like say you wake up at 5, don't have any caffeine for the first 90 minutes. And then within that 90 minutes, trying to get at least 10 to 20 minutes of natural sunlight in your eyes without sunglasses, without a window. Like, go outside. You don't have to stare into the sun, but just let the sun into your eyes. If you can do that, do those couple things, make your bed, be grateful, drink your water, physically wake your body up with the water and with the sun, you're really setting yourself up to be awake, to be alert, to have the best cognition, and set yourself up for success, in my opinion. They're simple, but a lot of people won't do them because they do whatever else they do.
So simple, man. And I would say those 5 things, man. I mean, they literally model exactly what I do, man. There's going to be a large segment of the audience that's just going to be like, it's the shit that Frank tells us to do every single week, man. It's like, don't hit snooze, make your bed, have a gratitude practice, hydrate, delay the caffeine. The adenosine receptor isn't actually activated. So you're really just kind of tapping in the cortisol there. You're not getting any of the real benefits from actually the caffeine in of itself. And then get the sun exposure, or get outside as early as you possibly can. If you're up early, try to get that in, as quickly as you possibly can, man. So, yeah, Justin, I knew bringing you on, man, that we're going to be so aligned, man. This has been an incredible conversation. Hour really kind of blew by, man. Definitely want to stay connected and supporting you in any way I possibly can, man. Tell the guys out there, tell the audience where they can connect with you, and then we'll wrap it up with our last and final question.
Yeah, so Instagram is Justin J. Cross, justin.j.cross, but just type in Justin J. Cross, not J-A-Y, just the middle initial J. So feel free to hit me up on there. I spend a good amount of time on that. Our business account is We Earn It All on Instagram. But if you just Google Earn Your Booze or Earn It All, you should be able to find a ton of PR, a ton of articles if you'd like to read more about what we do. Earnitall.com is our main website, which is actually being revamped right now. But you can go to earnitall.com and take a look at what we have over there. I would just ask this, though, like you nailed something earlier, like when you're asking about what can people do, like, dude, most guys don't need more information. They just need to do what they need to do and stop doing what they know they shouldn't be doing. So, if that's the only thing somebody hears, take Frank's advice on whatever you're talking about. Take something I took out of here and that you need to do, and actually do it, because it's up to us to change ourselves if we want to change our family, change our community, ultimately change the country, and leave this place a better place for our kids, grandkids, so on and so forth. But it's 100% on you. It's on us. We are the ones that have to be the ones to make that change.
Yeah. And guys, just adding into what Justin shared here, I'm going to challenge every single one of you listening to this right now. What's the one thing from this episode that you're going to take action on? One thing. And if you do that with every single bit of content that you consume, every podcast you listen to, every book that you read, you don't need 300 pages of notes from a book that you read, but you need one action step. And if you didn't get one, I would recommend read the book again, because every book out there is going to have a piece of wisdom for you. So guys, as you're ending today's episode and as you're wrapping things up here with Justin and I, what's the one thing that you're going to take action on? Message myself, drop it to me on Instagram, reach out to Justin. He'd love to hear from that as well. But stop consuming, guys. Start actually taking action, because that's what's going to produce the results in your life. Justin, it's been an incredible conversation, man. Truly grateful for the connection and having you on here today. We'd like to end every episode here with the same and final question. The title of our show is called The Superhuman Life. It's been a 5-year kind of journey for me of kind of discovering and figuring out what that ultimately means for me. When I talk about living a superhuman life, Justin, it is a belief system. It's a way I try to show up in the world and how I try to operate on a day-to-day basis. I'm a man of faith. So I do believe that we're put here for a purpose. There's a calling on each and every single one of our lives. And I think it's uniquely paired to our special gifts. But knowing that you have a purpose on your life isn't enough. You have to take very intentional and aggressive action every single day. So when you pair those two together, the belief and understanding that you're here to do something, and the intentional development of the skills needed to share that with the world, that's how I define living a superhuman life. But I love to always get the guest take. So Justin Cross, as we end today's conversation, how would you define living a superhuman life?
That's a great question. And I think it's something that we can constantly kind of reevaluate too, right? As we grow as men, as we grow in business and our families grow and we learn more, and hopefully we get more wisdom and we get smarter, we can kind of reevaluate that and see, okay, what does it mean to me now to live a superhuman life? I was actually just talking about this this past weekend. And I think I'd wrap it up with this, Frank. I'm on a journey to essentially earn ascension, to earn my way into heaven by being a good man, good husband, good father, good person, good leader, good fill in the blank. So I've kind of taken personal development from like where it starts for a lot of people, and like I'm doing personal development because I want to be better in business. That's where it starts with a lot of people, right? I want to make more money. I want to be more effective in marketing or my messaging or whatever. Like I've kind of recently just twisted that to I'm looking at personal development because I want to have a more calm heart. I want to be more steadfast in who I am and my results, my reputation. So to me, to earn a superhuman life would mean that I can actually be a human who is flawed and is full of sin, but I can actually be worthy of living a life and the results of getting into heaven. So that's my next thing is I'm constantly trying to just self improve for that reason, and not even necessarily for business anymore. It's for my own inner soul, I guess.
Yeah, bro, that was beautiful, man. And I think that's a journey I've been on since late 2018, man. You know, I struggled through this world for a really long time, seeking without any real, you know, deep faith in anything beyond this. And I think accepting Christ and submitting to my faith paired the two together. Like I can be very aggressive in the growth, but have peace at heart every single night, man. So yeah, dude. This has been amazing, man. Guys, connect with Justin. But like we said, don't just consume today's episode. Like, what is the one thing you're taking action on here out of this episode? But connect with him. We'll have all his links plugged down there in the show notes. Guys, if you got value out of this and you want to continue to help us, you can support the show in one of two ways. First off, stop being a freeloader and leave us a 5-star rating and written review, guys. Take 2 minutes of your time and give back to help us get out there, to help us bring more people just like Justin and all these great guests we've had over the last 5 years. But more importantly, if someone in your life is going through some of the struggles that we talked about here, maybe they were lost in finding their way, maybe they need to take action on these 5 steps to launch a business plan, do us a favor and do them the blessing by sharing today's conversation. But for Justin Cross, your host, Coach Frank, we love you guys. We'll see you next week.